All right, you should have gotten the this session is being recorded memo.
Yes.
All right, good. All right, so today is Friday, October 22nd. My name is Dr. Noelle Cutter. I am the director of the first year experience here at Molloy College. And I am very happy to welcome you to, I think this is our fifth or sixth social hour for the fall 2021 season. So thank you and welcome. I'm really appreciative to have all of the students here today, and of course our guest speakers who are both talking to us from the School of Education. So we have Dr. Linda Kraemer and Dr. Madeline Craig joining us here today. So Dr. Linda Kraemer is the Associate Dean and Director of Undergraduate Education Programs here at Molloy College. Her academic and research interests include literacy and the use of instructional technology to enhance teaching. Of course, during this day and age, that is really important, and her expertise has been super welcome across campus to making all of our lectures a lot more interesting. Dr. Kraemer most enjoys her work as an advisor and mentor. That's really important to all of our students, as well to her colleagues. And I'm sure that the colleagues in education greatly appreciate all her hard work there. In her spare time, she loves to travel with her family and to spend time with her absolutely perfect dog. I love dogs. Dogs are absolutely perfect. And fun fact, Dr. Kraemer actually lives, I think it's 0.6 of a mile away from me, because it is on one of my absolute favorite running trails around the neighborhood in which we live. Also on this call today, we have Dr. Madeline Craig. Dr. Madeline Craig is an assistant professor and the dual degree coordinator in the School of Education and Human Services as well. Dr. Craig's research interests include the use of technology to improve student learning and writing, strategies for student engagement, including project-based learning, and techniques to enhance the online classroom. Dr. Craig has also been extremely instrumental during these challenging times where a lot of our lessons have relied on this type of technology and these types of interactions to make online learning a lot more interesting for our students. So we, the faculty at Molloy, are very grateful for all the hard work that she's continually doing to improve all of our pedagogy in the classroom, whether it's the virtual classroom or the live classroom. She loves spending time with her husband, her 3 children, and her 2 dash hounds. So we have another dog lover on here. I know we were going to try to do a show your favorite dog if you have your dog with you. So maybe at the end of today's social hour, everyone can bring their furry best friends to share, even if it's a goldfish. You know, goldfish are fun. So if you have your furry friends at home with you, maybe at the end of today's social hour, we can do a meet and greet with our favorite companions at home. So without further ado, thank you and welcome to Dr. Craig and Dr. Kraemer.
Thank you, Dr. Cutter. So welcome, welcome. I see the names of a lot of education majors here. I'm going to beg and plead that you join the brave Catherine Mercaldo and turn on your camera, please. It's really horrible to present to blank faces. Thank you, to just names. And we want to see that you're participating and interacting, especially from my ed majors who want to get credit for this. No, I'm not trying to bully you, but I just feel like it's nice to see your faces. The other nice thing about today's session that differs from some of the others is that this is not just for freshmen, right? So I think it's really great for our freshmen to get to see all you other ed majors. Maybe they'll even have questions for some of you at some point. And at some point, I know I'll be having a bunch of ed majors come in. We already have Colleen, right, who visits our FST class. But I think it's really a nice experience for you to all kind of connect. So maybe some point, I think Faith is here, or anybody really from Ed Club, if you want to put any information in the chat about Education Club for any of the ed majors that are on here. And no matter what your major is, you should be looking out for clubs and things on campus that you can get involved in, based on your interests. So Dr. Craig and I are going to get started here. This is an activity that is not necessarily about education, so it really does fit everybody's needs and can be really useful for everybody. But this is an activity that I was first introduced to when I was becoming a teacher, and then I used it throughout my years as a teacher for various reasons. At the end of this session, after we do the main tutorial part of this session, we will finish up, say goodbye to any freshmen that are visiting us that are not ed majors. And then I will ask all the ed majors to stay on for a few more minutes, and we will talk about this activity in the context of teaching and learning. And so for those of you who are education majors, you know you have to do 6 professional workshops. By the time you graduate, you can start doing them at any time. So even our freshmen will get credit for today. And I'll explain at the end how you go about getting credit for today. Don't worry, you're not going to have to write a paper or anything, but you do need to participate and be here for the whole session, okay? So thank you. Faith posted in there the Instagram account for the Ed Club. All right. So this activity is done in many different versions. Sometimes it's called circles of support. Sometimes it's called, what we have here, circles of connection. Okay. And so you see this bullseye in front of you here. And the bullseye is just a graphic organizer. In education, we talk about graphic organizers used as a way to organize information. We could just put this information on a list, but the graphic really makes the idea take shape, and we'll talk about that at the end when we finish. But what we're going to do today is ask each of you to create a bullseye for to display the connections and the support systems in your life and the relationships in your life, and then we'll chat about what you found through doing this activity. Okay, so there are 2 ways that you can go about this. One way is to just grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and draw a bullseye that has 4 circles like this. Okay, you can just do it on a piece of paper right next to you right now if you want to do it that way. But another way to do it is to click on the link that Dr. Craig just posted in the chat, and you will end up with a digital template of this. And Dr. Craig's going to explain how you can do this digitally. So if you want to, add text to a digital version, you'll have to switch back and forth between the digital version you're opening through the link and our presentation. And if that's a little too confusing, you can just stay on our presentation and do it in writing. Okay, Dr. Craig?
Yes. So welcome everyone. It's so nice to see so many of you that I haven't seen in so long. Hopefully you'll come to advisement in person, so I'll get to see a lot of your faces, half of your faces with the masks on, right? But it's really nice to be here with all of you. So if you would like to follow along using the digital link, you'll click the link that I just put into the chat, or like Dr. Kraemer said, feel free to just draw like big circles on a piece of paper, because that works too, right? And that's what you might, if you're an ed major, might wind up doing with your students someday. But you're going to open up when you click on that link, it should open an additional tab for you in Google that looks like this. It's forcing you to make a copy, right? So that we're not all working from the same document. So you'll make a copy. And this brings you right into a Google slide that I've created with all the circles already existing here. So hopefully you're at the same place that we are right now. If anyone has trouble, feel free to put that in the chat. Do you want to go ahead, Linda, with the first circle, or you want me to?
Well, why don't you talk a little bit about, the text boxes, or do you want to do it after as we go through the circles? Let's do it after. Okay. I'll start with it. Okay. So moving on to the next slide in our presentation here. Could you click that? You have the screen, right? Mm-hmm. So the first circle, the inner circle of this bullseye is where you would put your own name and also the names of those people who are closest to you. Now, it gets a little easier to figure out who goes where after you see the big picture, and that's okay. You can change this as you go along. You might put somebody in the first circle, and then when we get to the second circle, you're going to go, no, wait a minute, they go there, that kind of a thing. But I always describe the inner circle as the circle where you would put those people who, if you were stranded on a desert island, who are you bringing with you? Okay. So it could be like you're a parent or a spouse. And as you probably can tell, this would vary depending on your stage of life, right? If an 8-year-old were doing this activity, I would think it would likely have mom and dad or siblings, but as a very old lady, my circle has, my spouse and children, that kind of thing. So Dr. Craig's going to show you how to add this digitally if you're doing it that way. But if you're just writing it in, go ahead and jot down a few names of who might go in this circle, who might be in your inner circle, your literal inner circle. And just a quick question to the group. I hope somebody will open up their mic and just give an answer or put it in the chat quickly, but let's hear you yell it out. About how many people? I mean, there is no right answer, but would you have 30 people in the inner circle? Or like, what do you think is the approximate number of people that would go in the inner circle? Does anybody have an idea? 5. Somebody said 4 to 5, right. Yeah, because again, you might want to be in a deserted island with a party, but, for the really, we want you to stress the real deep closeness of these relationships in this circle. So go ahead, Dr. Craig.
So you'll start by opening up a text box. If you don't know how to do this in Google Slides, it's this little icon here that says text box. Or of course you could go insert text box, either one, and it allows you to start typing into a box here, right? So for me, I'm going to start by putting my name, right? So I'm the middle of the circle. You're going to eventually see how much support you have surrounding you in the circle. And so I will click, say, another text box here, or you can do a copy. If you want to just take this text box and do a right click and do copy and then paste it, either way. And so for me, I'm going to put, my husband, my children, those are the people that are closest to me right now, live in my house. And so that's what we're asking you to do, is to just kind of open up a text box, or if you're doing it on paper, maybe you want to get a a pretty color marker for some of you ed majors who love flare pens or something like that. You might want to do that.
You can glitter it up later. The first box is actually easy because you just do one large text box and type in it, but you're not going to get away with that on the other circles. Mm-hmm. So you might have to do, different, several different text boxes as we go around these other circles. Okay.
And for me, I'm definitely going to put my 2 dogs in here, Ginger and Luna.
Yeah, we'll show
the theme of today about our pets and how important they are to us.
Yeah, and we have done the circles that we'll share with you after, and we have some different sample circles, but we're hopeful that somebody will be willing to share their circles. So that's the first circle. So let's move on to the second one now. And again, I know that sometimes the text boxes take a little time, so you can always fill it out later for yourself. I also think an interesting activity to do with this is to do this at different points in your life, because you'll see how things change. And we'll talk about some other values of this activity later. So the second circle is your circle of, friends and family. Now, obviously, if you put your mom in the first circle, she doesn't need to be in the second circle. We're talking about like the next layer of close people, and not every acquaintance you have, but family members, close friends, people that are really important to your life, but not quite the desert island folks. Okay. So this might be a larger group, right? Which makes sense. The circle is actually, wider. So again, you'll do the same procedure, fill in some things. You can put exact names. I put in my circle, you'll see later, I put some very specific names of people, but then I also put one box, I just wrote cousins because I wasn't going to list them all, but I do consider them as part of this group, So Dr. Craig is filling her second circle with her bestie, that's me. Yeah. So I think I should be in the middle circle, Dr. Craig.
Depends on the day. Sometimes you are in the middle.
Right. Like days like this where
Malloy.
you do workshops with me. No, so go ahead and fill in this circle. Can anybody share while they're doing this, like just an example or two? And you could just sort of call out or put in the chat of people who went into this circle. For the most part, your inner circle is really like immediate family, or maybe your very best friends. But this circle, who are we putting in this circle? Anyone want to share?
My grandparents.
Grandparents, good. What else? Who else?
I put my friends that I'm like not as close to as I am with my best friend, but they're not like acquaintances either.
Right, exactly. And that's correct. That's who you should have in there. You don't want like everyone you've ever met, but this is where you might put, again, depending on your stage of life, your siblings might go in this circle or they might go in the inner circle, it kind of varies. So again, using the text box to add in, who goes where and, that sort of a thing. All right. Any questions about this circle? All right, good. So I think we can, Dr. Craig, you want to talk about who you put in that circle real quick, and then we'll go back.
Yeah, so I was thinking again, figuring your stage, where you are in your stage of life, right? So at one point, my sister was in my inner circle, but she no longer lives with me. She's actually in Georgia, but I still text with her constantly. So sometimes I feel like she could be in the middle. But then it's also, work friends and work relationships, because at least for me, you spend a lot of time at work, close neighborhood friends. I have many sister-in-laws that I'm in touch with on a regular basis, and, that provide me support. So I'd put them in this circle.
Let's talk about the third circle now. We'll go back to our presentation. So the third circle, this is a circle where you would list groups that you are a part of. So in this circle, this could be a group of colleagues. For example, I would put the School of Education and Human Services as a group that I'm a part of. I would put, if you were in a club, it would go here. If you were on a team, it would go here. Maybe you have a membership in an organization. Now, some people from those teams or clubs or memberships might be part of your second circle or even your first circle, but the club as a whole or the group as a whole, anything that like I said, kind of a group you belong to. It could be your church. It could be, Girl Scouts or something like that. It's like at different points in my life, I would have had different groups there, of course, than, I do now. Something like the PTA, if you're a parent, maybe, and you actually are involved with the PTA. So Dr. Craig, tell me about what you're putting in that circle.
So for me, I'm involved with a lot of, my son is an 11th grader, so I'm very involved at the high school, and I am actually chaperoning the trip to Syracuse next week for music parents. So I spend a lot of work right now. I'm doing fundraisers and whatnot for our music department. So I would put that here for sure. I also am very active in an organization called ISTE, which is the International Society for Technology for Educators. And we meet on a monthly basis and share ideas around educational technology. So I would include ISTE here. Like you, Dr. Kraemer, I would put our School of Ed. I mean, I might broaden it to say, you know, the Molloy College faculty in general, because we have a lot of meetings and we have our own kind of group here that supports us and that we share ideas with. You know, that would include even Dr. Cutter, who's on this call right now too, right? So kind of the larger Molloy College faculty.
Interesting too is, you know, depending on, like, if you were to do this activity in a different setting or with a different group, like let's say you were on a team, you could do this activity with your team. And then you might change the categories a little bit. So you might be like, well, who's in the first category might be, you know, your team captain and your coach. And then the second category might have all the team members. And then the third category might be like, well, I'm part of the defense of this team. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's different ways to look at this. You know, we could look at this as Molloy College faculty, and we could put in all the committees we're on in this circle, you know, or something like that. So, you know, there are a lot of uses for these activities that you can do, but you know, the general idea is those are groups or clubs or memberships that you belong to. Can anybody tell me something they put in this circle? Does anybody mind sharing?
I put my cohort.
Okay. Yes. If you are a senior at Molloy in education, you are in a cohort for childhood ed, right? And the cohort bond is very strong, right? So that's good. What else? What else do we put in this circle? Does anybody else want to share something?
I work at a restaurant, so I put my coworkers.
That's good. Yeah. So that's exactly right. Like, you know, that's a group that you're a member of, right? Maybe you even have like a larger family group, like that has, you know, reunions, like all your cousins, all your, you know, all that business. Willow, I put in Molloy Life, Molloy AACO, Molloy Equestrian Team. See, those are a lot of clubs and, you know, involvement in groups, and that's great. All right, so let's look at the fourth and final circle. And like I said, once you see all the circles, you might go in and switch around a little bit. The final circle is another circle of connection that you have in this world. And it is the outer circle of those people that the easiest way to describe it is that they're being paid to be in your life. Okay, so that doesn't mean you're not close with them. So you wouldn't put every single, you know, cashier at the supermarket you've encountered in this circle, but you might put, you know, a teacher is somebody who's in your life because they're being paid to be there, but you might have a close relationship with them. Or a coach, maybe. You might put a doctor. Or I put in the girl who cuts my hair because I feel like I know her really well and I've seen her, you know, for years. So this is the kind of thing that you can put in this circle. Anybody have any ideas about who might go in this circle for them? Like what jumped out at you immediately when I said people who are paid to be in your life?
Well, last year when I did student teaching, I would say like my supervisor.
Yes, very good. Yeah, your field supervisor, exactly. Your cooperating teacher if you're student teaching is definitely that. Obviously, all your teachers, not that we're here for the money, but, you know, but that's, you know, in reality, you may not know us otherwise if we weren't, you know. Yeah, various doctors kind of go in this. And of course, the older you get, unfortunately, you know, that list grows as you age. Therapist, really good, really important. Maybe a priest or any kind of advisor like that, a counselor of any kind would be somebody who is sort of paid to be in your life. Maybe you have babysitter that you trust all of your many, many children, Dr. Cutter. So I think that, professors, correct, very good. Coaches,
Coaches, yes.
yeah. Who are you putting in there, Dr. Craig?
Well, I keep thinking of, I have many doctors. So I keep thinking doctors. I also really need a chiropractor. So I thought I'd put chiropractor. If anyone has a recommendation, could you put it in the chat? I've been sitting watching, I need a back doctor. But those are the folks I was thinking of. I mean, I used to have like a trainer at the gym, but since COVID I haven't, but I would actually like list that person here.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Somebody said your boss, and that really is true. I guess that your boss is sort of being paid. You're not paying him, but he's an employee, and it's within his job scope that he is in your life, really, so that person could go there as well, and as well as the collective group in your third circle. So I have some questions of the group. Maybe we can look at, let's maybe unshare the screen for a minute so we can see some faces,
Okay.
So I really want people to answer, please, please, please. And, feel free to yell out, okay? It would be nice to hear your thoughts on this activity. So my first question is, did anybody go through and move people from one circle to another at any point during this activity? Did you find yourself moving people?
I moved people from my first circle into the second circle.
Okay, so once you found out what the second circle was about, you were like, oh, wait a minute, they're not that, let me move them. No, I mean, the difference in closeness, right? Anybody else move people around? So I think one of the important things to note is that this is a very fluid activity, right? It's fluid even right now. Some of you are moving people already, but it's certainly fluid throughout your life. Okay. Can someone look at their circle and tell me one of the circles or even one of the people that would be in a completely different place if you were younger, a young child in elementary school, or older? Like where can you imagine how this might change throughout your life?
My dance teacher.
Go ahead, Leanna. What'd you say?
My dance teacher.
Your dance teacher, right? Well, because she's probably not so much in your life or much of a presence anymore. Can anybody think of somebody that's on their list, definitely in there, but they moved circles throughout your life? Maybe they would have been in a different circle, or you could see them being in a different circle later. Anyone?
Yeah, my best friend throughout my best friend I met in middle school probably would have been like in like the second ring when I first met her, but now she's in like the middle.
Okay. So yeah, relationships grow and change, right? It is kind of hard sometimes to look at that middle circle and see it being anything different from what it is. But there will come a day that, maybe your siblings and even your parents, move somewhere else in the circle and different relationships take place. So that's another important thing to know about like the fluidity of this, I think. Right? Does that make sense?
It does. And I was thinking too, like a lot of times, like even with Leanna was saying about the dance teacher. So the dance teacher at one point might have been paid to be your dance teacher, but now is like a support person for you. So they might move in the circle. They're no longer getting paid, just like me sometimes with alums, right? So I'm not their advisor anymore, but they still reach out. And so I change circles for them depending on the role that I serve, in their life. So you will see that fluidity is normal. And like if we look at relationships that you've had over your life, they do adjust, right? Some of those best friends are no longer in circle number 2, or you've added your cohort to circle number 3, or maybe some of those cohort members are in both 2 and 3, right? And someday they might, move even in your inner circle, who knows, right? We've had some Malloy marriages and
Yeah, right. So yeah, like Moses wrote here, your professors after college, like they become, friends or even colleagues. You start working with your professors one day as you progress in your career. So I want to know, and this is where I really would like some people to speak up, please, is, what is the point of this? Well, first, let's talk about this. What is the value of each of these circles? Is one circle more important than another, or are they just different?
I would say that they're just different because they're all important in your life.
Who's talking? I missed the person.
Willow.
Me, Willow.
Hi, Willow. Yes, so they are different, right? They're not, we can't say that some are more important than others. Maybe they are, and maybe they are at different points in your life that, maybe the groups you belong to become more important in, say, college, or depending on your needs in your life, but they are just different. So what kind of support and connection do we get out of any of these individual circles, do you think? So you can pick whichever circle you want to talk about and tell me what kind of support and connection does what's the value of that group for you, that circle for you? Anybody?
I feel like in the center circle, it's with the closest people, it's kind of like an unconditional love. Like I put my parents and my brother, so it's like no matter what, they're gonna be there for me and stuff, and same with me for them.
Excellent. So yeah, that's a group that you can go to no matter what. They're there for you no matter what. That's probably the group you might share the most with and be the most like yourself with, right? I would think to an extent. What about the second circle? What do you think what value does that group have? Well, let's see. Sean says the inner circle and the white circle provide social or emotional support, and the gray and red circles can provide professional support. That's true. That's a really good distinction between those first two and the second two, right? Excellent. What else? Any other distinctions among these circles? Like I said, pick a circle and tell me what the value is of that circle.
I was gonna say something like that too, where like the inner circle and the second circle are a sense of belonging, but with other people and relationships, whereas like the red circle and the other outer circle is more like hobby, skill, like professional belonging, like where your skills and your attributes belong, kind of.
Right. Excellent. How about can somebody comment on the what's the word I'm looking for? Help me out, Dr. Craig. The back and forth. Like some of these circles, there's a give and take of support. And in others, maybe just one-sided. Does anybody want to comment on that? Which of these circles is the relationship maybe a little one-sided as far as, you get the support, but you're not exactly giving it back?
My second circle.
Okay. So your second circle, you think is one-sided, or give and take, both are giving each other support? I think you might be breaking up a little bit.
As I have 13 cousins. So can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
My second circle has like my cousins. I have like 13 of them, and I know that I'm not the most important person in their life, considering they're all like 11 years older than me. So that's what I would say would be like, I don't know, it's like one-sided and like both, if that makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, it depends on the person in the circle. Any other circles that tend to be more one-sided?
I feel like the last circle, with my doctors in it, like I don't really provide much for them, but obviously
Right. Yeah, I don't cut my stylist's hair. She just doesn't let me do that. I would like to, but no. So, usually that is kind of a one-sided relationship. You're paying somebody to do a service for you. You're probably not giving anything back to them, right? But the other circles usually have a little more give and take, I think. So let's just share, Dr. Craig. Well, we can share a little bit of what ours look like, and then maybe some people want to share theirs.
Okay, you want me to start?
You can go first. Yeah, you probably is more thorough than mine.
So this was my circle that I made this morning. So again, like Dr. Kraemer said, it's almost like a point in time, right? Who's entering my circle and who's leaving my circle, right? It is very fluid, unfortunately, in some ways, right? Like the friends that enter into this circle here, could switch quite often. So I have in here, this is my husband and my 3 children, took them away at college, but I felt like I still had to put them in the circle, even though it's probably only one-sided at this point. They ask me for money a lot. That's about it with my college students right now. But anyway, and then I have a picture of my 2 little doxies here. I don't know if you can see them in my circle. So I thought, even thinking about doing this myself or doing it with students, it is kind of fun to add images of people as well. Maybe adding pictures of you and some of your best friends around the circle would make a nice kind of twist to the activity if you're thinking about using it, in a classroom. But for me, I have a huge family on my husband's side, so I have 6, 7 sister-in-laws. So they provide support. My own sister, I've got a couple of work friends that I feel like, are in this outside circle here for Molloy College faculty groups, but certain people are a little bit closer, in terms of trust. So I add them to my second circle. I've got lots of friends' names in here. And then I have also a large group of nieces and nephews who, as they grow older, they've become friends. In the past, they would probably be in maybe an outer circle in terms of like groups, like extended family. But now they've become friends, which I thought was interesting, just doing this, making this circle, how much I support them and they support me. So that was kind of an interesting finding as I was working on this. Then for my third circle, I think I started to say I'm very involved in like music parents at my son's high school. I've got faculty groups. I'm very involved in a conference called the Teaching Professor. So again, we meet on a regular basis to create a conference together. So the advisory board is a very important group in my own professional development. My community. So I live in a very tight-knit community in Floral Park. So I felt like they were its own kind of item in my on my circle here. Like we do a lot of community events together. Like last week I was at the Knights of Columbus, so I felt like they were their own group here. My neighbors, so my direct neighbors on my block, we get together quite often. So I put my neighbors here as my group.
Yeah, did anyone else put their town in? I forgot to even add that, but I think that for some people, yeah, your town probably really, goes in that third circle if you're very involved in the neighborhood,
Yeah, your neighborhood, your neighbors. And then of course, anyone who knows me knows that I'm obsessed with Twitter. So I put Twitter on here, my personal learning community, the PLC, because I feel like that's a group in itself and it takes up probably way too much of my time on Twitter. but those people can be very supportive in terms of my own professional development. So I was thinking of them in terms of that, that supportive development. They help me to, be a reflective practitioner and be a lifelong learner. So I included them in my pink circle here. And the outer circle, they're all my doctors. I have a lot of doctors. I think I'm a healthy person, but I have a lot of doctors. Actually, Dr. Kraemer and I share some of the same doctors, which is an odd coincidence. But anyway, and I am looking for a chiropractor because I'm having such back pain, which makes me laugh. But when I did this circle of connection, I did feel like there was a gap here in this outer circle now since COVID. I used to have someone that helped support my own, health and well-being, like a special trainer or a nutritionist that I no longer have in the circle. And when I made these circles, I thought, oh, okay, that's a little gap there. And so it builds awareness a little bit about potential gaps in here that I might start working on. So I might need to go back to the gym soon.
No, that's a good point. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. So that's a good point. Now I want you to look at my circle, which is not quite as filled out as Dr. Craig's. And some of that is because, I just I didn't spend as much time on it probably. But some of that is because, at certain points in your life, your circles of support change. So, I have my family in my circle with Chloe, the greatest dog in the world. And then my outer circle again are my best friends, my brother, my mom, cousins, that kind of a thing. And then in the group circle, I put, my class, and I put my the School of Ed. I could put Malloy College. And then finally, I could have listed dozens of doctors, but I didn't. I just went with doctors, the girl who cuts my hair, my kid's pediatrician, and some physical therapists that I've worked with. But this is one of the points of this activity, is to take a minute and look at your bullseye. And we've talked about the value of each of these groups. So the question is, where are you lacking? Like, where do you think you could be maybe filling out? So, you don't have to share your own necessarily, but can anybody, judge me and tell me where looking at this is a section of this that I really should maybe be proactive about trying to fill out. Like if I was looking to, grow my circle of support, where might I do that?
Maybe getting involved in more groups.
Right. And I do think that's exactly right. I think that as I sat here, I was like, wow, I used to belong to different clubs and activities, but then, sometimes over the years you get bogged down by, the kids and work and stuff like that. And all of a sudden you find you're not doing that stuff anymore. And maybe some of you are finding that. I think that third circle for college students is really important because it gives you a sense of belonging, and it's great to have best friends and close friends and family, but it is good to be part of groups. You really broaden your literal circle, by being part of different groups and getting involved in different things. Because again, each one of these really serves to, give different types of support, I think. So I don't know if you found this interesting or not. I think it's interesting to do. I think the most important thing you can learn from it is, again, where you can maybe build some connections. And at this stage in your life, what would you like to see a little different there? Does anybody have any questions or comments, or would anybody like to share? We can let you share the screen if you want to share your circle. You don't have to give us too many details, or if you just want to share, which circle you think you would like to build up going forward. Anyone?
I think like you, I could also build up my red circle, get more involved, especially at school.
Right. And I think, for the freshmen, this is particularly important to try to, build up that group circle, you feel pretty secure, I'm sure, about your inner circle and probably even your second circle. But it's probably that group circle that changes most, like throughout life. And it's good to have all those supports that you pay to be in your life, but you also don't want that to be the fullest circle you have either, right? So anybody else have any other thoughts about this activity and what you might, do? Can anybody see a use for this activity? Not in teaching, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but just in your day-to-day. Is there a group of people in your life you're like, hey, I could use this, we could do this as a group activity at a party on Saturday night? No, probably not, but maybe somewhere else. Anybody else? Someone's going to post on Instagram them doing this at a party Saturday night, and I'll be so excited, but I don't think so.
Keep dreaming. I'm not sure about that. I was thinking that I was going to ask my daughter to do this because I think it's a really interesting and important exercise in trying to make sure that your circles are kind of balanced. I was thinking as you were just talking, like, does anyone think that could you have too much in one circle? Do you think, or no? Not too much.
Right.
Gabriella's like, no.
Maybe the last one. Like, I think Natalie just typed in the chat that she's a coach in high school and might do it, could do it with her players. I think it is good for, I think that's a great activity for a team. I really do. Any other ideas?
I think it's really interesting for a student transitioning from high school to college. I think so much changes, if you think about even when you're first starting college to probably the end of your first year. I'm just personally thinking how much my circle changed within that first year. And then by the time I was ready to graduate college too. So it would be an interesting social activity to see just how much you've changed over your 4 years of college.
Right. And for those of you that are freshmen now, you should really revisit this in 4 years and see, where you are. Sean made an excellent suggestion that if you're a social worker or really any kind of therapist, you could use the circle to teach people about their relationships and where they might want to change certain aspects or adjust them. So there are a lot of applications, I think, for this activity, but I think it's just an interesting way to, look at yourself and that kind of thing. So we're going to wrap up here in a minute. I'll turn it over to Dr. Cutter. Thanks for joining us. And if you are an ed major, you're going to stay on after we're done, and we'll just be another few minutes to discuss. Okay. This is Faith just wrote, teachers have the freshmen write a letter to themselves. This is like another form of that you could do. That's a great idea. So thanks for coming. Those of you who
Oh, we lost Dr. Kraemer, unless you lost me.
No, I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. I think she froze.
I think she froze, and so did Dr. Craig. But while they're in freeze mode, maybe
There we go.
Oh
yes. Oh yes. Or who won? Oh, my daughter is just coming.
Right,
my daughter is coming. Yeah, my daughter just wanted to say she won the keys to success this year, this semester. This it's like the student of the month, I guess, for Farmingdale. Dogs, yes, come here, Lennon, come. He's barking at everybody walking by. Come here, Lennon. Come. Oh, he's running away. I'm gonna have to chase him down because somebody's at our door. But we do need to come up with 3. Do we have numbers, Deb?
Yes. We have numbers today. So if you'd like to pick a number between 1 and 36.
There's my big guy.
Or Dr.
Running away.
Can you hear me?
Hi, I'm back. I'm sorry. My battery died and I lost. I got kicked out.
Dr. Kraemer, can you pick a number between 1 and 36?
I would say 12.
12. Okay. Melissa Martin, is the winner of the first raffle.
Oh,
So if
exciting.
Melissa would like to stop by Sienna 106. We have a little raffle prize for you. And also, Dr. Craig, can you pick between 1 and 36?
24.
24 is Crystal Pretty Pal. Crystal Pretty Pal. She is the winner of the second raffle. And Dr.
Hey.
Will you pick between 1 and 36?
Okay. I am going to go with today's date, which is the 22nd. So 22.
22nd. 22. That is Joanna Vaccaro.
Yay.
She is the winner of the third raffle. I can see how excited these
Wait till you see what your prize is. So we will have prizes available for you in Sienna 106. I just wanted to thank everyone for joining us today on Friday, October the 22nd for our first year Friday social hour. I think we had the largest group to date, so that is outstanding. And thank you for all your participation. Thank you to our guest speakers, Dr. Craig and Dr. Kraemer, for their very interactive and engaging conversation that we held here today. I will be stopping the recording, but I do believe our education students will be staying on. So thank you again for joining us. All right, I will stop the recording.